The movie begins, and we see two brothers. The younger brother was Nathan, and the nickname of Nathan was Nate. Both brothers sneak inside a museum and try to steal a map. Meanwhile, police officers arrive and transport the children to an orphanage. They actually have no parents and have spent their entire lives in an orphanage. Nate's older brother made numerous attempts to steal the map because Nate and his brother come from a family of pirates. The orphanage's sister tells the officer to take Nate's older brother because he's still pretty young. He also says that he used to rob, despite being restrained. However, Nate's older brother refuses to hand himself over to the police. As a result, he decides to leave. He enters his room in order to pack his belongings. Nate tells his older brother, "I can't live without you." Nate receives a necklace, a lighter, and a letter from his older brother. He then walks away, stating, "I'll come back." After his elder brother has left, he opens the letter. He receives a message after putting the lighter's light on. It was written that we come from a pirate family and will almost certainly meet. The scene turns afterward, and we see the period after 15 years have passed. We see Nate, now an adult, who works in a bar. In addition, he used to rob. One day, Nate was working in a bar. There, a man comes to him named Victor. He informs him that he is familiar with him and his brother. He claims that they used to collaborate at one point. Nate, on the other hand, was uninterested in learning about it. He tells Victor to go, but he leaves a card for him on the way out. Victor's address was written on the card. In the next scene, we see that Nate enters his house. After arriving, he notices the map that he and his brother attempted to steal. Meanwhile, Victor arrives and says that if you had arrived, you would have told me then. Nate informs Victor that this is the same map that so many others have been looking for. This is a treasures map. Many people have dedicated their lives to this without achieving anything. This was a pointless story. This isn't a pointless story, Victor assures Nate. I'm sure you and your brother both know a lot about this map. Later, Victor gives Nate a book and an image of a ship. This isn't a regular ship. It's an antique ship worth $500 million. Not only that, but the ship also has buried wealth on board. Here, we know about the group of 18 people. They had kept all the things. Victor couldn't possibly let him go because he knows so much about the treasure. Now, he extends an offer for Nate to work with him, but Nate refuses. Victor says that if you accompany me, you can get your brother. Nate goes to his house and begins to see the things of his brother. Later, he agrees to work with Victor. The next morning, we see Nate giving Victor a cross sign. He explains that this isn't a cross sign, but rather the key to unlocking the treasure. Victor claims to have one of the keys, and the other must be stolen quickly. Victor claims that the other key is in the hands of an auction company, and that key will be displayed shortly. We'll have to steal that key soon. Victor steals the key after visiting that company. He was returning from where he had stolen the key. Then a girl named Brett arrives. She pointed the knife at Victor's throat. She is following her boss's orders. She was doing this under her boss's instructions. This was Victor's former enemy. Meanwhile, some guards arrive, which Victor takes advantage of. After obtaining the key, he flees. Victor travels to Barcelona after receiving the key. They run into a girl named Fraser, who is already familiar with Victor. She, on the other hand, is unfamiliar with Nate and inquires about him. Victor introduces him as an old friend. Nate realizes that the other key is with Fraser, not Victor. Nate confronts Victor and asks, "Why did you lie to me?" Fraser claims that you may be completely unaware of the situation. Fraser ran away while stealing the key as they were arguing. Fraser was rushing ahead of Nate as they chased each other. Fraser, who was seated in her car, was preparing to go. However, Nate appears in front of her car, and Victor also comes there. He tells Fraser to grab the entire treasure, but you have no idea what it is. Only Nate is aware of the situation, and after hearing it, Fraser agrees to work with them. Nate tells them that the treasure was hidden near the church. Many years ago, it was kept by those 18 people. They arrive at the church, and after arriving, Nate begins to notice the cards that his brother has handed him. As a result, he is confident that he is in the right place. The three of them are currently taking shelter in the church's basement. They find the key's activation location. The key was hidden beneath the statue. They don't know, however, in which direction the key should rotate. Both keys must be rotated clockwise, Victor reads in the book. As a result, arrows start to erupt from the statue. 3 of them, though, remain uninjured. After taking the risk once more, Nate and Fraser rotate the key in an anti-clockwise direction. After that, a path appears behind the statue. The path took a way through a cave. Later, Nate informs Victor that we must use separate routes when traveling there. He claims that Fraser and I will take it the same way. You'll take one path, and Victor and Nate will connect their phone's GPS. One way leads to Nate and Fraser, while Victor takes another path. Nate and Fraser come to a bar while walking via the underground path. There was a secret way there that no one knew about. Some people attack them before they leave that path. To stop him, Nate fights with them. Fraser, on the other hand, is attempting to open the door. Thereafter, the door is opened. They discover a third door that can be opened with the cross key. Water begins to flood the door as Fraser tries to open it. Because the first door must be opened before the second door can be opened. Only Victor can open it. Victor was attempting to open the door on the other side. Meanwhile, the same girl who had previously attacked him appears. Both of them are in a brutal battle. Nate and Fraser, on the other hand, were caught in the water and about to die. Victor knocks the girl out and places the key on the locked door. Nate and Fraser eventually get out of that door safely. It was now turned to enter the final door.